Yeah, so I consider myself a dreamer because I like to challenge the hardest problems probably. And so I encourage everybody to feel themselves the same way. And obviously there will be a lot of failures on the way, but sometimes we will make it right. The one problem that I'm trying to solve today is the fact that digital transformation is not only changing the way we actually behave. We use a little phone today that can do a lot more things that we could do like 10 years ago. But it's really radically changing the way we work and the way we live. And for me, the way we work is one of the most interesting problems that we have today. Because more and more, I've been close to experiencing what is this new world called gig economy sometimes, or self-employment. And the fact that more and more people are looking into moving from this traditional way in which we used to work with a one-time full contract in the same company for your whole life, into moving countries, moving jobs, and changing jobs, and having the opportunity to feel free to select what kind of career you want to do. The problem is that when this kind of thing is happening in a world that is not ready to take on this big challenge, there's a lot of people that feel excluded and left behind. And one of the big sectors that is excluding these freelancers or self-employed is the financial industry. Let's start by my career and by my life. I've actually lived over 3 continents in 10 cities. And in the last 8 years, I've been working in startups, mainly in a very risky job, as you can imagine, because you never know if the startup is going to be there the next day. And actually, over the last 2 years, I decided to become a self-employed employee, and so not have anymore a full-time contract. I've changed more than 6 jobs after my MBA, and I'm actually 33 years old, and I'm a single woman, which is something that generally in the world is considered, of finance, is considered very scary. So my profile for a financial banker is considered something that is out of the norm. They can't put it in a box because they are used to this kind of person where you kind of have you go to school, you have one job all your life, and then you save for your pension. And this is the kind of box in which finance has created products for. And clearly, when I look at the people I'm talking to, I know a lot of you can identify with my kind of career, my kind of like out-of-the-box sort of numbers. And this is why I want to show you a few numbers that show that I'm not alone. There's 400,000 graduates that have left Italy overall. There's about 24,000 that left in 2015 alone. This means it's people that are deciding to leave their hometown and to try something new. But what does this mean for the financial industry is that you lose your financial history. Because whenever you change country, people kind of like wipe out everything you've had before, and they see you as like a person with 0 financial history. People used to get married at 24 just in 1985, and now the average age of marriage is 2015. There's less and less women who decide that marriage is the first thing they want to do and that are deciding to pursue a career first. And so this is also changing the way a financial institution used to see like a couple as a financially reliable sort of family home, and now they have to get more and more used to single individuals. There's already 21.9% self-employed people in Italy, and actually Italy is one of the highest countries in the world as a percentage of employment of self-employed already, and I really believe this is a trend that is only going to get higher. Just in the 1980s, people used to change about 1.6 times jobs 5 years out of school, and now this number is already 2.85. So my 6 is quite high, but I still think that it's kind of getting there. And why is all this important? It's because these are trends to show you that I'm not alone. And so I don't feel that the problem that I see on myself is just for me. I think it's for all of us. And I hope you can identify it with me on this. The really important problem is that once financial institutions decide to exclude people from their environment, then what happens is that countries still lag behind on financial literacy. Finance is not taught in any school, And it's very strange that somebody has to make a decision about their financial life on their own. And there is no financial advisor that generally is willing to help because you don't fit the box that they're used to in terms of advice. And therefore, actually, it's really kind of not encouraging to see that Italy has one of the lowest financial literacy numbers of developed countries. And in developing countries, this is gets only worse. And this gets especially worse when you look at a certain type of population, the younger, the women, and the self-employed. So this is the kind of thing that, for me, needs to radically change. How can we think about changing this? Well, I tried to find a lot of solutions from reading what was happening abroad and seeing actually what other policies are coming in place to take into control, let's say, what is happening in this phenomenon of new labor. And it's very hard to see people not tackling the problem directly and saying, okay, we're going to stop all the platforms that do gig economy workers because this is bad for jobs. Or we're going to try and make sure that people are not considered properly employed if they are not with a full-time contract. And this we hear in the news all the time in Italy. And it's a shame because instead of solving the problem directly and going to impact the labor transformation, I think that the real solution is to transform the environment around the workers. Because if they can have a proper financial system that is backing them, then they can actually really survive and become proper entrepreneurs and proper small businesses. And this is the real challenge that I'm wanting to face. Me and my team of 10 now decided to start a product called Oval Money. For now, it's just a simple app, and it's going to become a bigger platform to bring financial education in the phone of everybody. So you don't need to anymore go to the financial advisor or to your bank branch to feel that you have somebody that's supporting you in your financial decisions. The way that we do it is using a basic concept that is called collective intelligence. And actually, collective intelligence is something that has existed forever. Philosophers have talked about it a long time. The big difference is that over the past few years, and especially in the last 10 years, the ability of machines to process data has become exponentially better. And so now we find ourselves in a world where data has become real currency. And machines can process a lot of data, and it's this whole new world of what is called artificial intelligence. So using data and using algorithms to analyze this data. Collective intelligence is a small subset of this artificial intelligence. And it just means that in a world where not only we can collect data, but we can collect the way people interact with each other online, because there's more and more social media, more and more peer-to-peer sort of products, that we can see a new pattern, not just analyzing single data of people, but actually applying on top of it a layer of overall interaction between people. By using these two solutions, we can actually take this world of excluded people from the financial world and making them more reliable. Why? Because we can track behavior. We can show people how they're behaving differently from their peers, how they can improve their financial behavior, how they can spend better, how they can learn to save, and what products, financial products, they can actually select that will help them in the decisions of, for example, putting away money for a home or for university of their kids or for a pension. And by using this simple tool, and it's very powerful technology, you can really put in the hands of everybody the power to make the decisions that they didn't have before. And I hope that with this, by helping in a little bit with a small step to reshape the way finance sees this new world of self-employed workers, that there will be again the ability for banks to see that giving capital and giving liquidity to this whole market will just improve the ability for these self-employed to become their own businesses. In the end, what is important for us is that obviously technology can't happen on its own. There's a lot of that we can build, but it always comes around to people. We believe that what we're trying to build is a community that works together to create this kind of solution. And that because it's mostly based on collective intelligence, it's mostly based on people and people interacting with each other. And so even if it is online, and it's not always offline, offline is what we can start to build in terms of communities. And therefore, if we start to really try and find these kind of solutions that Oval, but many others are going to bring on to see ways in which we can become financially reliable, we can solve this problem of not feeling excluded just because we have a different job than what the society sort of told you that was the job you had to do. And I want to leave you with a small consideration. And many of you, by growing up in Italy, you go to college, we were still brought up in a place where it was like a few jobs that you could do, and those were the right jobs to go and pursue. And when I decided to be an entrepreneur, it was still seen like a very crazy and very risky kind of decision. And I was very lucky that I had a supported family, but I didn't always have society on my side. And I sort of also had a career into a very complicated, let's say, technological evolutions that were really trying to change certain markets and pushing the boundaries. And therefore, it was really struggling always to sort of push this barrier of like change. And change, I believe, is one of the hardest things that people are able to do. But if we can create that kind of environment to facilitate that change, I really believe there's going to be more and more entrepreneurs that are going to grow the economy of our country and other countries in the world. And it was going to be more like an incredibly powerful environment for everybody. So just a note, I don't know if everybody knows, but Italy is the place where banking was invented. So banks were invented here. And we can have the power to make sure that we decide how the banking industry changes from here. Thank you.